Traffic Jam is on now.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Traffic Jams. I am your humble correspondent, the one, the only Dr. Dre, 39, right here in the place. And I'm talking to a very humorous, funny, I don't know, whatever you want to call him, comedian. That's right, Mr. Darius Culpepper in the house. How you doing, Darius?
Yo, I'm doing great, man. Doing great. How are you?
Hey, man, I'm just trying to stay cool in a heated situation. What can I say? I turned on my number one fan, and I'm just trying to keep the air moving.
Hey, sounds good to me, man.
Well, speaking of being in a heated situation, from what part of the country do you hail from, Mr. Culpepper?
Man, I hail from South Florida. That's where the heat originated. South Florida native. Yeah, man.
You're down there with the original humidity, should we say?
The original humidity, yeah, man. I originated from South Florida, and then I made the jump to LA. So I couldn't escape the heat either place.
So you went from the moist heat to the dry heat, and you said, I'm not having enough fun in Florida, so let me see if I can burn up in the LA side.
Yeah, man. This dry heat a little different. It hit a little different.
Yeah, it is. You gotta buy a lot of lotion on the LA side of the world. But big up to everybody out there in LA, and I hope you're staying safe with many, many fires out there. Please, folks, take it for real and keep the matches in your pocket and not on the ground. But let's go into you, Mr. Culpepper. How did you get involved in comedy?
Oh man, my journey into comedy is an interesting one. I grew up in church, and so I grew up seeing my grandparents speak in front of people every Sunday because they're pastors, and oftentimes they would tell me, "Hey, baby, come on stage, tell the people what God did for you." And thus, at an early age, it pretty much developed the comfort in me to stand in front of people and talk. And I would try to throw jokes in there when I would be up there on stage. And then from there, I just saw, man, I kind of like making people laugh. And then as I grew a little older, maybe like 21 years old, I decided to go to an open mic. And once those lights hit me, I was just like, hey, I think comedy is something that I could do on a consistent basis. And the rest was history.
Well, hallelujah and amen to you. And the Lord is with you and make us laugh. What more can I say about that? But let me ask you a question that I think that's kind of funny about that. Because you say you were raised by two pastors. So were your jokes really clean, or did you make up a lot of Christian fun or a lot of Baptist fun? What did you do?
Oh, man, at the start of it, I think just being like a young kid that just kind of wanted to stand on his own 2 feet and just kind of be rebellious a little bit, I veered in the other direction early on. I was trying to say the most shocking and just nastiest stuff that I could say because I didn't know all of what comedy entailed at that point because I was like so young. So initially I wanted to say whatever I could to make you feel like I wasn't a kid from church. And so in the beginning it was a little vulgar in the beginning.
Oh, so you said, let me find I'm going to use the word most vulgar, but let me be very shocking with my comedy. So in that route of being funny and trying to be shocking, what did the pastor say to you? Did they just look at you and say, now, we didn't raise you to talk like that?
Bro, it's so crazy because like for the longest time, I felt like I was living a double life. It's for almost like a year. I didn't even tell them that I was doing comedy. And then eventually I came out of the comedy closet and told them what I had been doing. And they was just like, all right, all we ask you is to make the jokes clean. That's all we ask. Make the jokes
so they
clean.
Say, now we know who was taking the wine in the basement.
Right. Like now we get it. Now we know why you've been out like all these late hours of the night. Because at first they just thought that I was like on drugs or something. They were very worried about me. and like they were like having an intervention, and then I told them, no, it's not drugs, it's comedy. And they were just like, we wish it was drugs. And then I
Same
was
thing.
Hey everybody, this is comedian Brad Williams, and you're watching the Traffic Jam. That's right. You could be watching porn, but you're not. You're watching the Traffic Jam. Good for you.
Well, are you an only child, or you got brothers and sisters?
No, I have brothers and sisters. Yeah, I have brothers and sisters. And but like I'm my grandparents' baby. Like I'm their favorite just because you know, they raised me. And I didn't have my father in my life 24/7. So my grandparents, they were really the ones that raised me with, you know, with some assistance from my mom, but they were the main like integral figures in my life that kind of shaped and molded me into who I ultimately became. So basically when they told me just, you know, keep the jokes clean, I still kind of went against that and tried to do what I felt like a comedian should do. But later on, I realized that it's really not about shocking people. It's just about making people laugh with your authentic nature and what's true to you in your heart. And what was true to me in my heart was the principles that they raised me on. And so it worked out.
Well, speaking of conveying that kind of a message, who were some of your favorite comedians that gave you influence when you were coming up out of the pulpit to the to the comedy stage? Who are some of your greatest influences?
Oh man, I definitely have to say that I would get in trouble for watching Cat Williams. Cat Williams was one of those guys that I looked at, and I felt like he was such a dynamic figure and such a mesmerizing one. Just watching his physicality on stage, the jokes that he would say. So he was definitely one of my top inspirations. And then Dave Chappelle, just from a cerebral aspect, just looking at the way that he used his intellect to convey his humor was something that really resonated with me. So those were the two guys that I looked at like, wow, okay, this is where I want to like take my comedy. Like this is who I want to be like and pattern myself after. So those were the top inspirations for me.
Well, that's two good ones there to work with. Do you ever reach over and listen to women comedians at all, lady comedians?
No, definitely I do. I try to be a well-balanced student of the game. So, you know, I definitely had to take it back to like Mom's Mabley and like Whoopi Goldberg, because it's like, you know, it's from whence I came. And at the end of the day, I feel like you can't really know where you're going if you don't know where you've been. And
Well, that's a heck of a stretch. You went from Cat Williams to Mom's Mabley. That's a heck of a stretch.
bro,
Whoopi Goldberg.
yeah.
So, being that you said that, where does your age fall in between Mom's Mabley and Cat Williams?
Bro, like, all right, so like I'm 30, right? But
Okay, woo!
yeah, right. At the end of the day, I feel like you have to be I feel like in order to be successful in any field that you're in, you have to study it to the most minute of details. And I had to go back and like really do my homework and just kind of see like, okay, yeah, I love Dave Chappelle, I love Cat Williams, I love Chris Rock, but who are the people that inspired them? Like, who are the people that laid the groundwork for them? And then that's when I go back to like the Richard Pryors, and then I'm like, okay, but who was before Richard Pryor? And then it's like, then I see Dick Gregory, then I'm like, all right, who was before Dick Gregory, and so on and so forth. So I just think that like it behooves me, like especially being a Black comedian, to just kind of know like, all right, the people that laid the groundwork and paved the way. And also these are the people that kind of embolden me to not be afraid to say anything on stage, because they embrace a fearlessness that we now look at to be iconic. So yeah, I had to like take it back to way before my time to just get a full understanding of what it is I'm doing right now.
Well, being that you mentioned the great Dick Gregory, the late great Dick Gregory was a friend of mine. Did you get an opportunity to watch the special, his documentary, The One and Only Dick Gregory?
I did not get a chance to watch the special. No, I didn't. Talking about Dick Gregory is always kind of hard for me because before he passed, I remember I was going to have the opportunity to work with him, but the comedy club, they ended up giving the opportunity to a white comedian who didn't deserve it, who didn't know who he was, and I just remember always being like, man, if I don't do anything else in my comedy career, I want to be able to work with Dick Gregory and be able to have imparted upon me all of the knowledge that he has. So like when he passed, I just felt like, man, like this is one of my role models is gone, and I've never really get the chance to meet him and just kind of embrace the energy that he has. So,
well, I consider myself very blessed because Dick Gregory cursed me out and left a message on my phone. And when I listened to it, I said, wow, Dick cursed me out. And I didn't even feel bad about it. I said, this is just greatness here. And people were like, Dick Gregory cursed you out. I said, yes, listen, this is so cool.
Bro, yes, blessings, bro.
But pushing forward, what's it like on the road for you going from Southern Florida over to LA now and being a comedian? Did you do dates in between that?
Yeah, man. Being on the road from Florida to LA, it's very different because I think on the surface you would look at it and think that it would be the same, but I do feel like even though both places are superficial, I think there is still a little bit more of a love for the art out here in LA as opposed to Florida, because performing in Florida, I often tell people that like if you can make people laugh there, you can make people laugh anywhere, because you're performing in South Beach with a bunch of people who feel like they have more important things to be doing than listening to you trying to make them laugh. So once you're able to kind of break through that shell, it gives you the confidence to say like, hey, I can take this act to Washington. I can take this act to LA. I can take this act to New York. So being in Florida.
Because funny is funny.
You're watching The Traffic Jam.
Do you feel in today's times comedians are held back because of people videotaping and the cancel culture idea? Like if you say the wrong thing or in a comedy club, or if you say the wrong thing in a college campus, you could actually be canceled, or people can, actually protest your craft. What do you think about that?
I definitely think that it raises the stakes. I do, because knowing that every word that you say could ultimately result in social media backlash. But I think at the same time, it also raises the creativity level of the comedians. And so I think it's a beautiful time that we're in, because it's just about finding the most creative way to say what it is you want to say without it coming across as you being insensitive or what have you. So it just forces us as creators to get more creative and to really get more cerebral in our approach to comedy. So all cancel culture is doing is just creating better comedians, because we're going to find a way to transcend beyond it. And the way that we're going to do that is just through amazing creativity and sharp comedic wit.
Do you feel that in this day and age with that cancel culture, does it limit you? If I throw a topic at you real quick, can you come up with a joke to go along with it? Are you ready?
Yeah.
I'll hit you with one. Tell us what you think about super gymnast, the GOAT of all time, who just recently decided not to perform in the Olympics, Simone Biles. What do you think about that?
All right. Okay. So here's the thing. Simone Biles, first of all, she's a young Black girl. She's in the public eye. She's got all of these endorsement deals. And, we expect her to just have.
I didn't ask for your opinion. I asked for a joke. You have a joke. That's what I'm throwing them at you, like little super funny things.
All right, well, all right, I'll say this in a joking manner. She stretched herself a little too thin. I'll say that. Like, you stretch yourself a little too thin. Like, you know, you just can't. You can't be in the public eye and still like maintain your mental health. I feel like at that young of an age, and also have the Olympic stuff in the back of your mind as well. So she literally and figuratively stretched herself too thin. But,
Okay. All right.
I'll
I'll bounce away from this because that was a test on the cancel culture thing. What type of audiences do you usually perform with? Do you find a large Black audience, or do you find a mixed crowd? Have you performed in a white audience?
Truthfully, like what I prefer is a mixed crowd. That's what I prefer. But usually what I'm performing in front of is usually an all white audience, and it's interesting because for me, I like to subvert expectations, and usually when you perform in front of white people, because you're Black, because you're young, they're expecting to be browbeat, essentially, because of everything that's going on in the world. So for me, I just try to find that balance of like, yeah, I definitely want to say disparaging things about white people, but I don't want to say disparaging things about white people just for the sake of it. I want to say it to use it as a teachable moment. And I feel like when I'm on stage, that's all I'm trying to do is just really just teach white people. And it's just like telling the ones that come to see me, like, hey, you're not the bad ones because you paid money to see me, but there are white people beyond this structure that you need to help. And and just trying to tell them like, hey, use your white privilege for the good instead of the evil, because it is a power that you have. So I'm really just trying to like impart knowledge, and sometimes it may seem harsh, but it's always coming from a place of love, because when I'm speaking to white people about the bad things that white people do, it's never from a standpoint of just the people. It's just the white supremacist mindset that.
All right, exercise here is going to be biceps. I'm going to show you a simple biceps curl and biceps hammer. So the first biceps hammer, keep your hands straight. You want to always bend them a little bit, not completely let them down. Keep them close to your body. That way you don't have that movement. We stay here. Go slow. 1. Your core is always tight, your back is straight. 4, and you don't want to move your body while you're doing it. 5, I'm going to go to the lateral view. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. Last 2 here. The last 1. That's the first one.
Are you a comedian that goes after hecklers when they say something to you in the audience?
Yes. I do. And here's the thing, I'm a nice dude, so I never like set out to like have that as my mission. Like, hey, I want somebody to walk away from this show feeling bad. Like, that's never my mission. But if you try to interrupt my show, then it's something that I have to do as a comedian, because as comics, like we're verbal warriors. So you have to know who the person is that's in charge, and it's the person with the microphone. So yeah, I definitely believe in just handling those situations, like, swiftly, but in a lighthearted manner as well, just depending upon the situation.
So Darius, give us some info on you. Where can people reach out to you to be fans, follow where you're performing? What's your website?
Oh man, definitely. If anybody would be interested in finding me, you can find me on Instagram at Think Darius. That's Think Darius. Look forward to hearing from y'all.
Great. Thanks, man. I'd like to thank you for coming to Stop and Do here on the Traffic Jams. My name is Dr. Dre, and we want to salute a new young comedian who's finding his way. And guess what? He doesn't want to say anything bad about Simone Biles. But thanks a lot, Darius. Mr. Culpepper, I call you. Mr. Culpepper, coming and hanging out with us today on the Traffic Jam.
Yes, sir.
This is the Traffic Jam.